Well, we're back at Lowe's Royal Pacific Hotel at Universal Studios, Florida. And it's gonna be great. Or is it? Alright, let me start it out by saying I don't blame the Royal Pacific for the weather at all. Who knew there were going to be tornadoes every day? And I don't have anything bad to say about the staff. Like Philippe and Islands, they were great. And I also understand that with limited occupancy, they're trying to keep everybody in the same tower and leave this tower empty. But I believe this is where the problem began. You see, just like our trip back on New Year's, we ordered a roll-in shower, just like this. And for some reason, they gave us a handicap-accessible room with a bathtub. Not what I ordered at all. And don't even get me started on the little yappy dogs in the hallway. Now, ordinarily, all it would take to get the problem resolved would be a quick call to the front desk. But Royal Pacific has taken all the phones out of the rooms. And later on, they did tell us that we could just text the front desk for help. So, after social distancing our way up to the front desk, Gene was able to get that changed to another tower. And we were going to have the whole floor all to ourselves. I mean, maybe even the whole tower. Now, don't get me wrong, the rooms are really nice. They could use a little wider of a hallway, but they're nicely appointed and very pretty. And just like everything else in Orlando, they've been closed for the last 3 months. So I was kind of wondering what they did for the last 3 months, what improvements they'd made. And it turns out, well, not much. For a $250 night hotel, it looked awful worn. I mean, there were simple things they could do to make the room look a little more attractive. Right outside our window, there were 2 empty cups that stayed there the entire time we were on vacation. And no, I couldn't reach them from the window to get them myself. In our new room, we were right outside of the croquet court, and that might have been one of the problems that led to our next call to the front desk. When we turned off the TV to go to bed, we noticed there was some kind of loud music, and we figured it was probably from one of the hotel's restaurants or bars that weren't that far from our room. But everything was closing at midnight, so they'd be stopping soon anyway. But midnight came and went, and the music continued. And it seemed louder than before, but that was probably just because it was late. Quick text up to the front desk, and they responded that they'd investigate immediately and make sure that they got rid of the music. It took them half an hour, but they did get rid of it. And, bonus points, we never heard it again the rest of the time we were there. The biggest thing I don't understand is why Lowe's didn't use this opportunity during the closure to go ahead and make some improvements and renovate a little bit. I mean, Lowe's didn't furlough most of their employees until April 19th, and up until that time, there was plenty of staff and no guests. This would have been the perfect time to fix up the joint. For instance, this potential tripping hazard is on the wheelchair ramp from the water taxi dock. If you're pushing a manual wheelchair, it's difficult to spot on a curb. Not only could the attendant fall, but the wheelchair user could be placed in danger. They did make some changes in the months between our visits, and I'm not really sure how I feel about it. They changed the front desk from its South Seas motif to a more generic look. It kind of reminds me of how they're genericizing the rooms at Disney, and I know I don't like that. Luckily, they haven't changed Jake's American Bar and Grill or the Islands restaurant. But how long will it stay that way? The Islands used to have a great breakfast buffet, but it sits empty as decisions are made on the fate of all buffets. Sure, they still have the create your own omelet, but it's not the same as watching the chef actually create it. Oh, speaking of menus, both Jake's and Islands currently share the same limited menu, and all items may not always be available. Sunday night, on Trips fish and chips were not available, and I had to settle for a ribeye. Thankfully, they had them Monday night, or I would have had to have eaten steak 3 nights in a row. I know! Oh, and for those of you who like Disney's Tonga toast, Gene says that Royal Pacific's Tahitian French toast à l'orange is better. Although I still think that the Tonga toast I made rivals them all. As far as drinks go, both Jake's and Islands serve Coca-Cola products, and I did try one of the signature cocktails, the Royal Pacific Sunset, which contains Myers Dark Rum, Malibu Rum, Oasis Pina Colada, Oasis Mango, and Oasis strawberry, and it was really, really good. Jake's is practicing social distancing inside by spreading out guests. Now, this works pretty well with the smaller crowds, but as larger crowds begin to show up, how's that going to play when patrons can see empty tables, yet they're told there's no space available? Outside and inside at islands, a number of tables have been removed to provide that social distancing space. Now, if you're just in the mood for a little snack, you can head over to Royal Pacific's Grab and Go, the Tuk Tuk Market. Here there's some, well, empty hot food cases, some cold foods, gelatos, and drinks. But you can expect a line to gum up every time someone orders a Starbucks tall Frappuccino Espresso half calf, half decaf with sugar substitute. The staff is friendly and patient as you read off the order for the Starbucks tall Frappuccino Espresso half calf, half decaf with sugar substitute. And a wonderful lady who checked me out told me the best thing about having to wear masks and safety glasses is that she doesn't have to wear makeup anymore. She entered my charge against the room manually with no problems at all. She told me they weren't allowed to scan the card because of COVID-19 restrictions. One day we decided to check out the parks and headed over to Universal Studios. I had one goal: to get a pass holder's mask. The great thing about Universal is that most hotels you can catch a water taxi directly from your hotel to CityWalk. Each hotel is served by its own boat with no stops along the way. It makes for a very relaxing trip home at the end of the day, too. We went into Studios and decided to stop at Today Cafe. A rather tall, imposing team member insisted that we use hand sanitizer before entering the touchless ordering line. I complied and then put my sanitized hand back on my power wheelchair controller. My wife said she couldn't use the hand sanitizer, and the team member asked why. Now, the proper answer is none of your damn business. But we're old school and we explained the problem. The frustration level became elevated at this point, and we skipped the Today Cafe and decided to head over to the Pass Holder Lounge. Over at the Pass Holder Lounge, they were limiting the number of pass holders who could enter the air-conditioned Oasis. I asked a nice team member if they had any of the pass holder masks. He told me that they'd only ordered a couple of hundred and that they sold out the first day. He also didn't know when they were going to get more. Now, it's bad enough that they're charging $6 for the face advertisement, but they know how many pass holders they have and should have ordered accordingly. And yes, I think they should be free, but thanks for the magnet and buttons. Again, the frustration meter rose just a little bit more. As long as I was there, I picked up a pass holder lanyard and a couple of Cokes. We'd put an extra $1,000 on our room cards. In 3 tries, mine didn't work. And I called Jean in out of the heat to use her card. Well, that didn't work either. The team member told me that the problem was with their system, and he tried to scan Jean's card again. We ended up using a credit card. And the frustration meter, well, it was nearing red. Heading around the corner to Mel's Diner, we found a huge line extending out and around the front of the building. I guess everyone chose the same time to eat because I didn't think the park was all that crowded. Well, between the line and the heat, we decided to call it a day and head back to our hotel and eat. There was never a wait there. Once exiting onto CityWalk, we decided to try one of the many restaurants there. I got the impression that Universal had opened CityWalk too soon. Just because a restaurant had reopened didn't mean it was now open. Several places did not open until later in the day. We didn't know if the restaurant we wanted to try, the Bread Box, was even open. I volunteered to ride up the ramp and check while Gene waited. Another helpful team member, laying down social distancing tape, offered to check for us, and he got on his radio to inquire. Turns out it wasn't open, and the voice on the other end of the radio advised they didn't know if it was going to open at 4 p.m. or not. What was open was Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, and the air conditioning worked brilliantly. No, I can't remember the last time we ate at Margaritaville. My wife insists we did, but I can't see me passing up that jambalaya. Fantastic server in Deb, but again, my observation, they needed more servers. All the staff at Margaritaville were friendly and efficient, but they seemed like they were overtaxed. They had removed at least half of their tables to keep up the social distancing. Now, during the meal, I, in my old age, needed to use the restrooms. The hostess who seated us told us that the restroom was just up the stairs. But there was an elevator next to the steps, so I figured that was my way there. I got in. The floor indicators were for LR, LF, and T. Now I knew I got on LF, or lower front, and I figured LR was just a back elevator door, so I pushed T for top floor. Upstairs, the door opened and a ladies' room was right in front of me. To the left was the men's room, blocked by all of those socially distanced tables from the floor. I did get a chance to check out the view from the Swamp Creek Tower. On the way back down, I decided to check out that other button and hit the LR. The rear doors opened and I saw the ladies' room. For a second, I thought I was still on the top floor. Everything was exactly the same, except there were no tables blocking the men's room door. It seems that we're just a half level up from the lower front. Just a little advice to Jimmy, please label the elevator floors. I mean, I only had one beer. And while I did get the jambalaya, Jean decided she'd get the cheeseburger in paradise without cheese. So I guess hamburger in paradise? And even though the room charge thing still didn't work, since I had my annual pass hanging from my new lanyard, Deb made sure I got the pass holder's discount. After lunch, we were stuffed, but we didn't let that interfere with our stop at Voodoo Donuts. That's why they have those little boxes, so you can eat them later. On the way back from CityWalk to the hotel, Jean accidentally left her phone on the boat. We couldn't text the desk for assistance because that number was on her phone. So I headed down to the docks to check with security. As I was talking with security, the best captain in the water taxi fleet, Rob, saw me and yelled over that he'd found it. He'd left it at the desk at CityWalk, but if I'd wait, he'd go get it. And I spent the rest of the time talking to Angel, the security officer and Navy veteran. No time at all, I had the phone in my hand. Before you enter the hotel, security officers scan your temperature and give you the wristband of the day. Once you have the band on, you're exempt from scanning the rest of the day. Security screening areas are located at all hotel ground entrances and at the water taxi docks. You also pass through security screening at the docks, so you don't need to at the parks or at CityWalk. Each day we were tested once and given a new wristband. There were signs related to social distancing and hand sanitizer stations everywhere you turned. They were taking the pandemic seriously, but every team member I talked to couldn't wait for things to get back to normal, and I really hope we do. I couldn't help thinking that Universal had just opened too soon, but I guess they know what they're doing. I mean, my biggest decision is whether to eat my apple cinnamon tart or my Universal creamsicle voodoo donut first. You enjoyed this video and that you'll give it a big thumbs up. That way maybe YouTube will let others know about it. If you'd like to help us make more of this kind of video, you can be a team member of As Bob Sees It. All you need to do is go over to Patreon/AsBobSeesIt, and for as little as $1 a month, you can help us make videos just like this one. If you'd like to see more of this kind of video, all you have to do is subscribe. It's free, just click on the red subscribe button down below. And remember, when you do subscribe, don't forget to click on that bell icon. That way you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.